Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kuadrant Community Call of November 19th, 2024. Getting close to 1.0. Another release candidate. Lots of work done. But we start with something completely different. Some charts. Take it away, baby. You're muted.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was muted. Sorry. Yeah. Well, basically, of course, I didn't put this on demo part, or you didn't put this on the demo part because you probably thought the same. I was thinking that is not enough material for a demo since it's a sneak peek. But what I wanted to show you probably today, it is that first we are successfully consuming the operators that they come packaged as they compact as a Helm chart, and that they work as they are as of today. That we also have like a Helm charts repo for all our quadrant operators, and that there are like a couple of things that we need to complete in order to get our full batches in the Artifact Hub repo. So first of all, just let me check something to show you. I think I can share my screen probably. Let's see. Okay, let's see. For some reason, it's all right. Okay. Okay, so you might see my screen now, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. So the charts they are like already published. Most of them are under development tags, of course, like because we have like all the release candidates so far. And if you already have the command line tool of Helm charts, you can already search for the repos that we have in Quadrants. So the repos that you see here are the ones that we released a couple of months back. And to see the latest repos, what you need to do probably is add this flag, devil. So right now, as you can see on the screen, the quadrant operator is the only one that we have under development flag, which is the release candidate 4. When the release candidate 5 it is ready, I'm going to manually trigger the build for having the Helm chart. There are a lot of workflows that they work hooked to the release workflows that we have. That's good to know, Greg. Thanks. But for some reason, they're not working after there have been some changes in all the workflows that we have. So there's like a couple of things that we probably need to take into account. Why they weren't prioritized for V1? Probably because they are not part of the product, basically. So this is a lot of like tooling around and a lot of infrastructure in our pipelines that they don't necessarily need to, they're not related to the product itself. So after the release, most probably a lot of time is going to be dedicated to the fully automate the process of releasing the charts. I'm going to show you the repo in a second. So if we want to install the Quadrant right now, if I have a kind cluster deployed with these deployments, the sale operator, and then the other ones come from the kind cluster. If I install, for example, Quadrant, I decide like put it under a namespace. All right. So perfect. That's why it's a sneak peek. Okay, so that's actually good to know. I need to list in the requirements, in the requisites for our Helm charts, that we need to have a set manager installed. But if I install set manager, it obviously takes some time. This is pulling images that they are a bit heavy, especially for our local Wi-Fi. In the meantime, what I can actually show you, it is our documentation site, which is part of the Kuadrant IO. Okay, that was it. So let's try it again. Okay, so there is like a couple of things that all right. Let's try it again. All right. So let me show you first the Helm repo, and then I need to solve the namespace thing, like some things changing in the release candidate. But let me share you another screen, and then I came back in probably in the demo time. I need to figure it out. So this is so far the page that we dedicated for the Helm repo. There is not much information other than how to install the charts that needs to be updated, probably with information which is relevant for any chart, not only just one. And probably pulling from the readmes from every single chart, which so far we have like Authorino operator, limitador operator, DNS operator, and the Kuadrant operator charts. You usually communicate people that how to add the repository, or where is the repository located, where it's listing all the charts. In our case, this links to this one. That we have like all the charts listed in this repository. These TGC files that you see here. Those are coming from each individual repo of the Authorino operator and from the DNS operator, Kuadrant operator, and limitador operator. So if we go to those repos and we go to releases, we can see like in each release, we have an extra asset, that this asset is the Helm chart. So there's a lot of like workflows that what they do, when we do a release, besides the other bundles needed for OLM, what we also do is releasing one of the Helm charts that we uploaded under the assets part on each release. Then the repo gets that chart and it listed under the repository, the Helm charts repository. So it makes them available for anyone using Helm that they could install the Helm charts. There's like probably the most used repository, which is Artifacts IO, Artifacts Hub IO. What they do is listed a lot of like Helm repositories among other ways of packaging, OLM as well. So if we look for Kuadrant, in Artifacts.io, you will see like also there are listed not only the Helm charts, but also the OLM operator ones. The integration that, well, they do this because they also track the things that they are on operator hub as well. So that's why they are listed here. However, in this integration that we have for the Helm charts, we are only kind of aiming to the upstream and Kuadrant only, and only Helm charts. And there's a couple of things that you can see when you visit one of the operators pages, Kuadrant or Limitador or Authorino, that there's a couple of badges here. We only have like the verified publisher that we claim to be. We do with this badge, like, okay, we are Kuadrant, but we are like missing a lot of like the official ones and signing and schemas. These are things that they needed to be completed in order to access these badges. For example, having a README file and having a lot of extra documentation per chart. So in our case, so far we are only in the CR5 in the Kuadrant operator, where we are missing to the other dependency, to the other charts that we are publishing. And for each chart, we need to kind of like take some specific annotations from Article Hub in order to have like all the badges. This is actually important because if you look for example, Envoy or any other package, you will see that there's like many Envoy charts, meaning like anyone can upload to Artifact Hub any kind of like packaging. If I remember correctly, Peter from QA and Craig, you were working on, or with Philip, I can't remember whom exactly, you were working on another kind of package for an entire solution of deployment of Kuadrant. Anyone can actually, what I'm saying is like, trying to say is like anyone can upload charts. That doesn't mean that they are like the official charts and the ones that we meant for people to install. So usually in the community, people go for checking to the ones that are official and the ones that are verified. So a couple of things that we are missing is those verification steps, and alongside with documentation and submitting issues. So from the part of Article Hub, they could give us the okay and those badges as well.
Even the CNCF checkbox would work. Box would then work for us.
The CNCF, yes, they already require us to communicate in which state of the CNCF product we are. In our case, in the sense of Kuadrant, we are in the sandbox, and they do check as well, because
But
they
it's
are
not enough to if somebody checks CNCF, we would still be in that subset.
We will be in that subset, yes. Not at the moment, because they need to do this verification for us as well. Since I'm the one that actually submitted that issue, they need to check my GitHub profile, which is that it needs to be linked to the Kuadrant organization, and to the Kuadrant belongs to the CNCF as well. They do that check as well.
Right, that's in between. Sorry, it's out of context, but for everybody who has like most people are linked to the Kuadrant project private, and their setting, I think it's the default setting, is private. You can change that in your own profile, make it public. That means that the link to Kuadrant is also visible if somebody's not signed into GitHub, which is in the end good for the Kuadrant project because it means more open links to Kuadrant.
That's why
so if you want to do that, do it.
Yeah, that's what I learned today, thanks to Thomas. I was, of course, like I'm always actually kind of like logged in GitHub. So when I was checking my profile, I could see the Kuadrant logo, or for the organization logo. You're usually at the left of your profile. Like I'm going to show you, like now. So here you can see that this logo, it is visible when you're logged in. Well, it wasn't when I was logged out. And they use this just to quickly verify that you are part of the organization that you claim to be as well. So people from Artifacts Hub.io, they have like a lot of like verification steps in order to sanitize their official and verified repositories. is a good thing for anyone that wants to install something that is going to be legit, and not, since it's a repository that also gives us a chance to anyone uploading charts to share into by various reasons. So yeah, pretty much that's it. I'm going to try to fix for the demo part in the Helm charts now. So I stop presenting. Back to you.
Another question, Didier. Is that README missing? That's not the README of the repo, I guess? Is that something else, like something we need to create specifically for them?
Yes. So I thought that the README was actually pulled from the repo that I was actually introducing. It is not. When you package one of the charts, you need to have like a specific README file within the root directory of the chart. I wasn't aware of that, or I completely missed it, to be honest. And the idea is now to every single operator that we are packing into a Helm chart to have like a specific README with installation instructions. In our case, for example, something I need to fix is like put like set manager as one of the requirements alongside with gateway API and yeah.
Right. And another question I saw in our GitHub Helm charts repo that all of them with all the versions are all in one big in one directory. Can we organize that better, or is that useless because nobody has it? Okay.
It's a good question, actually, and thanks. It's actually good that you asked that one in particular. So there's like different ways of packing these charts and providing them. One of those could be with OCI images, and probably we want to migrate to those because they're like easier to manage and to somehow. This was the easiest, but it doesn't mean that it's actually the ones that they are like the default for the community to use. I reckon when I implemented this, it was actually the most straightforward, and I didn't have to meddle with any repository for images. But now that I know that GitHub does it for you as well, probably the next upgrade for our charts would be, besides being able to configure it, to have some settings, some parameters configuring our images, also to give options in terms of like where to host the charts. But the repo, it's like any other repo, it's just listing where those charts are.
Okay.
It's like a manifest file, if you will. So
anybody else? Any questions? Well, we can ignore them all, Didier, because we're the only one showing our face. Okay, let's move on to the calendar now. Thanks. We try to share that back. How do I do that? Okay, so let's say that was okay. Half a demo, half a topic, or whatever. Release RC5 available, but I did see some message on the side of my eyes that something was maybe not correct there.
Yeah.
I just give it to Greg.
We picked up O3 know the latest version, so Augusti's just taking a look into that. And if we can rebuild the bundle, then I guess we'll be okay. And we won't need to do another RC. But everything else is correct, just O3 know. And yeah, and also like I know it says RC5, but in reality the O3 with pebcax. We do need to spend some time hardening some of this stuff, I think, to avoid some of these issues. But yeah, it's there, and hopefully we won't do another RC, and we'll just fix the bundle. That's it. So we'll probably need an RC6 because there's a couple of issues that are still open, but there were a huge number of things fixed. So I want to like just say it was great to see so much work happen so quickly with on those bugs, and fixes get in there and everybody focus on fixing the bugs that appeared in that board. So yeah, that was awesome. So there's a new tag, RC5. They will show up in that board too. So just keep your eyes on that board, and hopefully no new ones will appear, but they may.
Thanks, Frank.
That's-
Yeah. It's quite a long list of stuff that has changed, indeed. This time, the release notes are actually the release notes of this RC, right?
That's a good question. I just ran the workflow, so I'll check.
Yeah, no, I think I quickly did. I think it is
Okay.
correct. Okay. Anybody else? Anything on the release related stuff that they want to share? Are super angry about or super excited about? If not, then we move on. I'm going to ask again, roundtable, like anything anybody wants to say about anything in general within the scope of Quadrant? No? Okay, cool.
Was there anything interesting from, maybe I missed it because I was out, but from Guy on the KubeCon?
Yeah, I can share something. I was actually waiting for the community engagement session.
Yeah, let's do it there. Let's do it there. Yes,
Sure.
but we are there. But let's keep the order of the what's on the document. So let's say DDs first, and then you go last. Okay.
All right. Thank you. So, debrief from the conference. First of all, like, thanks for everyone. But first, thanks to Guy that I ran my demo and the slides and everything based on what he's been doing all these years, and specifically in Porto. So thank you, Guy, for facilitate like a lot of material and for your time to answer and to sing with me like as much as you could, because you are up to the neck with all the stuff that we're doing as well and for the release and a lot of things in your life. So thank you. Thanks for the rest, because I managed to do the demo based on the RC4. So with the previous one, I had like a lot of like issues, and finally the RC4, the release candidate 4, I managed to do like a working demo, and so that was actually amazing. And so there was like a lot of people. I reckoned that many were very interested in Quadrant in particular, but most of them, they weren't aware that the state of Ingress API that is being actually is going to be replaced. No, like most of them, they didn't know. I remember like only people that knew about Gateway API were like probably 5 out of like 300 and something in the room. So I was surprised. So I was actually most of them, they were really happy of the introduction, and probably not so happy about the breaking news that it will be like breaking indeed in terms of like their implementations. But anyways, I mean, of course, like these kind of things, they take years, but still. I took note of some of the questions that they were asked. So for those who that doesn't know, the presentation or like the talk that I presented was about Zero Trust as a true cloud native developer, and how to leverage the platform, in our case Kubernetes, to delegate a lot of things that you usually do in your app. You delegate to the platform. In our case, in this presentation's case, it was security. I'm going to share the links when I got the videos from the conference, and I could also share the links to the demo itself. So, of course, in this kind of conferences, always there is like the question how this compares to this other technology, which are not like the most amazing questions to be asked, but I was surprised that they were comparing Quadrant to Pomerium, which I wasn't aware of. I'm not sure if you were. They do security and on Kubernetes, and I was honest, I didn't know. They were also asking about like if what about if they can connect to an ADP. So I told them like, of course, like that's possible. This is actually part of like the authentication part, and then you can, in your auth policy, you can express that and where is your IDP and everything. And they were also kind of like asking, even though I mentioned in one of the slides that, like, you know, like a single gateway, you know, it's like kind of like a single point of failure, you know, like, well, the easy answer was just to, you know, like gateway technology nowadays is actually you can rely on. It's like super effective. With the benefits that a gateway provides in terms of caching, routing, security, and everything, you know, single point of failure, yeah. Then they were like asking about like a lot of like how can they manage the migration to Gateway API. I told them that there were tools as well online that they could use. Also, things about like the networking objects that they were meant for the different personas. I told them that there is like plenty of like documentation in the website, but also like it's like mainly for separation of concerns. And if you are only caring about like your application, you will be meddling with only HTTP routes or TLS routes or like the gRPC routes, like the ones more or less like trying to make them understand how we are using, how anyone should be using, should be, you know, like working on the topology of their entire platform with the Gateway API objects. And they also particular things about like bottlenecks in the gateway, and what about like workload identity and MTLS and these kind of things. I really liked that many people, not only the questions that they were asked during the presentation, but after the presentation, they were really interested in Kuadrant and asking me if like it was actually production ready. You know, I told them like, and what was the name of the Red Hat product. So the presentation, I didn't try to sell Kuadrant at all. As I was mentioned, at the same level of any of the other CNCF projects I was using. Of course, like the brand was there somewhere, but I tried to, even though I didn't mention like Red Hat product, people approach me to say like, okay, if I want to do this, how can I actually connect to Red Hat to do it? So actually, that's really good for Red Hat, I think. But it was very positive in the end, and many people super interested in Kuadrant and in Gateway API as well. That's it.
Thanks. Great. Was the audience was mostly Spanish people or very international?
No, it was actually pretty international. There were people from the US as well, and presenting as well, from the UK as well, Europe in general. I think, of course, the majority was Spanish, and many local as well, Barcelona and the Barcelona surroundings. But I was surprised to see, because I was expecting to be first smaller. I wasn't expecting to be like 300 plus. And I thought it was going to be only local community, because I've been in one of the talks that they do, that they are not the conference, and it's actually pretty local, Barcelona-based people. But the conference was actually even people from Singapore as well. I met, and other places. So I was surprised.
Nice. Okay, good. You had your time to prepare.
Well, let's just rub in a few links here while paying attention and what Didi was reporting. That's all good stuff, Didi. Glad to hear that. And congratulations to you, most of all. I've been following you, know that all your preparation, you know, to get that done, and you did great work. So congrats and thank you very much for that, actually. So KubeCon, my KubeCon experience this time was a little bit different than the last time. I wasn't as much available for talks as before. So this one was mainly about the breakout sessions we held with the Gateway API folks, and I mean the backstage conversation, right, and talks and the networking in general. So there were a few talks that I did attend, and one of them in particular I want to raise here because it was a great talk. In fact, I mean, I myself had submitted a proposal for presenting on policies, but after watching Kate Osborne's talk on Gateway API policies, I mean, I'm so glad that hers got accepted and not mine, because I could not have delivered, as well as she did. It was a great presentation of policies, the whole concept, where she walked us through, the process of implementing, designing a policy for Nginx Gateway Fabric, and I mean, basically, she cracking, the gap and making decisions about things like would it be a direct policy, an inherited policy, and so on. And we also scored, a mention to Kuadrant in the talk. Was also very nice. She actually thanked us for the policy machinery. They first implemented their first policy without it, and they are now refactoring, to try it out with the policy machinery. So it was very nice to hear. And well, we hang out there. We had the chance to chat a little bit. So it was a very nice experience. And then we had the Gateway API update, where I had the pleasure to deliver the part on policies. So basically everything that it's new in Gateway API 1.2 regarding policies and what to expect in 1.3. Obviously, we also had an opportunity there to mention Kuadrant, right? I had an entire slide to go through some of the implementation specific policies out there. I made an effort to make a distinction this time between Gateway API core policies versus implementation specific policies, right? Where in fact, most of the progress has been so far. So many people think on policies, they are thinking on backend TLS policy, maybe even backend LB policy, and not as quite on the implementation specific ones. But in reality, the huge majority of the policies are all implementation specific at this point. So I include this slide, whose screenshot I attached to the document there, where I mentioned some of the implementations and what they've been doing regarding policies, and I mean that was the opportunity to mention Kuadrant and our kinds of policies. But I also heard afterwards, that the other talks also mentioned Kuadrant, right? For example, Envoy Gateway also mentioned us. So anyway, I think it was a big success for Kuadrant in general, for policies, which leads us to breakout sessions, right? The breakout sessions, we had a full agenda, multiple topics. I can also actually share the link to the agenda and to the meeting notes here. I think this can be useful. They were prepared in advance, more or less. I mean, Lior from Google prepared the multiple topics. People dropped, bullet points there, and we ended up having maybe 6 or 7 different sessions. I attended them all. So I was in all of them, and I was leading the ones on policies. So the 2 ones we had on policies, I was leading and mediating the conversation. Oh, I forgot to mention, we also had last-minute acceptance for presenting during the unconference of the Contributor Summit. Well, now it feels like it was a year ago. It was actually last Monday. So exactly a week ago, before KubeCon started, we had the Contributor Summit. And in the Contributor Summit, I mean, it's a very short pre-conference conference, if you will, that is close to Kubernetes maintainers. So only people who are a member of the Kubernetes organization in GitHub or the Kubernetes 6, which is my case, were attending to that part of the conference. It's called Contributor Summit. Usually it kind of mix up with the rest of the bigger conference, but this time they managed to make it one day before, on the day before. And so we had maybe a handful of talks, and we had the unconference. So the unconference, people submitted proposals for topics, and the ones that were the most voted ones were accepted, for basically a roundtable where we discussed the topic completely open. It's not structured as a typical conference, right? And there's no presentation, no slides or anything. It's just, chatting about the topic while somebody's making notes. And we were accepted for discussing policies there, which was also nice. I can also add links to that because I think the meeting notes are also on the record. And that's it. I mean, in general, big success, for Gateway API, for policies. I mean, you can tell that if even for the number of views on YouTube, right, for the different videos, we have like dozens of videos already published in the CNCF YouTube channel, and you can see, how many views the Gateway API update got compared to the other ones. So it was very good for us, very good for the project, and for everything that we've been doing upstream.
Cool. Congratulations. And thank you, both of you. Okay. Anybody has any questions for Didier or Guy? If not, after this call at 20 minutes, there's the SIG Network Gateway API EU-friendly call if you want, and if you have time for that. And with that said, I think we're done here. Thank everybody. Last bits and pieces before 1.0. So that's good. Christmas is coming. That's what Jacob said just before we started recording. So I agree. Take care, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.